Hey, how's it going? And today we're going to be walking through an old Unreal Engine tutorial on creating a click and drag user interface, and this is what this looks like. So this is just a very primitive basic. So if that's your user interface, this bar, you just click and drag it anywhere you want on the screen. So obviously this is a nice functionality to have. Unfortunately, there is quite a few steps involved, and so this isn't necessarily for the faint of heart, but we're going to walk through doing this. So it's probably going to take about a half hour though. So anyway, I'll be right back and we'll get started. Hey, I'm back. So we're going to get started. To get started, we're just going to go ahead and the third person, no starter content. This is Blueprint, and you can call it whatever you want. I'll just call it UI and create. This may introduce you to a lot of functions that you're not familiar with, but the more you expose yourself to this stuff, the more you'll start seeing potential applications and all different kinds of things. So, in other words, even though this isn't fun, it's going to help you be a better game developer, programmer. So anyway, to get started on this, we are going to create 3 user interfaces. So we're just going to come over here and go user interface, widget blueprint, and we'll just go this one. The first one, we're going to call this drag widget. It's kind of important to stick with the naming conventions I'm using just because some of them are similar to each other and you might get confused. And then control D, we can call this one health bar. And then we can control D again and call this one HUD. There's no restarts or anything involved with this. And that's good enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in the content browser, which we are, and go to Blueprint class, and we're going to look for something. I didn't even know this existed. It's called drag drop operation class right there. And we go select, and this is a specialized type of widget, and we're going to call this widget drag BP, not to be confused with the drag widget. So there is that. And moving right along, this is what's going to allow us to pass information as a part of our drag and drop operation. Now we're going to open the widget drag blueprint. Here, there's a lot of communication going on between using, I guess, direct blueprint communication and object references in this particular one. So in the widget drag blueprint, we're going to create a user widget variable. So this is actually going to be an object reference. So we're just going to call this widget reference, and it is going to be a user widget variable. So object reference, so we go user widget, this one right there, and we want an object reference. We click that. We can compile and save. And this is important. It needs to be instance editable and expose on spawn. So we're going to be coming back to that later. So that takes care of that. And that's going to be used to hold our widget that we want to drag around. Now we're also going to create another variable, and we're going to call this the drag offset. And this is going to be a vector 2D. So we just search for vector 2D right here. And we also want this instance editable. Let's compile and save it. And we want to expose this on spawn as well. So those are that. So moving right along, we compile, we're saved. Now we're going to go back here and we're going to open our drag widget right here, and we're going to create another object reference variable. Same thing, kind of what we just did. So we're in the designer view. We actually need to go into the graph view here, and we're going to call this one widget reference. And this is going to be another user widget object reference. So we go user widget right here, object reference like that. And again, this is going to be instance editable as well and expose on spawn. So that takes care of that. And next we're going to start working on the health bar. And this part honestly can get kind of confusing. So we're going to go into the health bar. And what we're going to do is there is no canvas panel in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a size box, just size box like this, and drag it onto there. And this was confusing to me at first. We're going to do an override. We're not really going to be able to see this at first, what we're doing, but we're going to put 500 in here, and we're going to put 50 in here. And believe this or not, we'll see this at the end, but to see what we're really going to be seeing, we just have to come up here and see where it says fill screen. We're going to change that to desired on screen. And then you kind of see what we're going to see. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a progress bar, and this is what we're going to be dragging around. And we just drag this on top of the size box. And if we just want to color it, all we need to do is set the percent to 1. So that is here somewhere. Oops, I got to be on the progress bar. The percent is right there, and we set that to 1. And now we have a nice blue bar, and we want to keep those set fill horizontally and fill vertically. And that takes care of our actual health bar that we'll be dragging. Now this next step is going to help us determine if the player is dragging the left mouse button. So on the event graph here, we're going to create some functions, and I honestly didn't know there were so many in here, but if you look, you'll see there's 36 of them. So there's a whole treasure trove of functions down here that are probably worth exploring at some point. But the ones we're looking for is on mouse button down, which is that one. And then there's another one on drag detected. So there's on drag detected. And you'll notice the tabs come up here. So we're going to, these have a lot of versatility, but we're going to go ahead and just create our 2 functions right now. So I guess we could start with the on mouse button down here. So let's just drag that away, and we'll hit Alt and disconnect this. And so there's 2 that allow us to navigate the screen. So on my geometry, we just got to pull off and search for something called absolute to local right here. And then we need to get our screen space position. So we drag off of here and get screen space position. And this gets plugged into here, like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and on here, we're going to promote this to a variable right here. And as soon as we do, we have an option to rename it, and we're going to name this drag offset. And this will come back up again later, drag offset. And you'll see that there's an option to set it. And the next step on this is there's so many new functions in here to learn, and that's why I say this is a good thing. Once you go through this once, it might be helpful to go through this a couple times so this starts becoming very comfortable. We're going to go ahead and search for something called detect on drag, if dragged, not on dragged. And it's going to be what we're looking for is the left mouse button. So left mouse button right there, and we got that. And then we're going to put, let's see, we're going to drag our mouse event all the way over here as our pointer event. And I double click here to add a reroute node just so it's not so messy. And then all we have to do is just wire all this up here, like so. And this doesn't go in anywhere. And then just make sure these last 2 are wired up like that. And that takes care of our on mouse button down functionality, and compile and save that. And goodness, we don't get any errors on that. So now we're going to do our on drag functionality, kind of the same procedure. We're going to hit Alt and disconnect this. And then we're going to go ahead and look for drag off of create widget node. So we're going to create widget right here. And this is where we're going to create our drag widget right here. So drag widget right there. And that's set. And let's see, we're going to go ahead and wire this up in here like that. And then for our widget reference, it's going to be itself. So we just get a reference to self, got a reference to self, and plug that in there like that. And then off of here, I don't know, we're going to go ahead and promote this to a variable as well. And this one, we're going to call this dragged widget. And then that's all set. And the next thing we're looking for, this is kind of a big one. I didn't really realize this was called, it's hard to believe people figured this all out originally. Somebody had to do the first. And we're going to go, this is going to be create widget. Oh, my mistake. So here we're going to right click and we're actually going to get our drag and drop operation. It almost sounds like a military thing. Drag and drop operation. Let's see. Drag and drop operation. I'm not getting it there. I have to pull up from here. Drag. Oh, it's right here. So this is a specialized node, to be completely honest with you, that I didn't even know existed. So here for the class, we're going to set it to our widget drag BP. And there's quite a few things we got to set up here. Here on the widget reference, this is going to be a reference to self. So we're doing this a couple times here. We got to put that one in. And now we're going to get our dragged widget here. And this is going to go into default drag visual. And then the drag offset here is going to go into here like that. So there's those 5 things, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. And then this goes in here and the return value goes in there. And hopefully when I compile and save this, I don't get any errors. So believe it or not, we're about halfway done. And now we're going to go into our HUD widget here. And that's docked up on top. And what we're going to do here is we're going to drag a canvas panel on here to our scene like that. And we want to make sure it is set to visible. And so we go visible like that. And we can just leave the name as the default. I don't think we need to make this into a variable. Okay, so now on the palette tab over here, we're going to go ahead and get that health bar that we made already. So we go health bar, and it's user created. So we can just drag this onto the scene. And now we can finally see what we created earlier. And now on the event graph here, we're going to do another function override. This one has a lot of references in it. So what we're going to do is come over here again to the function override, and we're going to search for on drop right there, and it creates another function that we're going to build out right now. And let me see here. Health bar. I guess I can make that. It's just not editable. Okay, so let's drag this off and hit Alt. And then we're going to keep going. So we're going to drag off of the operation and cast to our widget. This one, our blueprint, cast to widget drag blueprint. And then we want to get those, our references that we have in there, our object references. So we had a widget reference, so get widget reference right here. And then we want to get our drag offset, get drag offset. those two. That's why I said it's so important to stay with the naming conventions, because otherwise things get really messy. And then we're going to kind of do what we already had done. We're going to drag off our geometry here, and we're going to get absolute to local right here. And then we're going to drag off of here and get our screen space. So you start to see a pattern here. And this goes, of course, into here. And moving right along here. Now we want to do something. I think this is the most complicated node of them all. And believe it or not, this is the home stretch. But we want to actually subtract kind of where our positions here. So we're going to search for something called, I guess I can go subtract here. Let me drag off of here to get it. No, I guess I can drag off of here and go subtract. No, I guess I can't. Let's drag it off of here. Subtract. And it's going to be this kind of 2D vector. This is actually not correct there, because this is going to be subtracted from this, like that. Okay, and then on the home stretch here, we're just going to remove from parent. So in this widget blueprint, we can just get that. A lot of times we can't get this without pulling off a specific node, but here in the widget blueprint, we can just right click and get access to this. And now we're going to get add to viewport here, and then we're going to get, next one is set position in viewport. Set position in viewport, this one here. So we have all these nodes, and then all we have to do is just wire all this stuff up. So our widget reference actually goes into all three of these. So one's in there, because that is our target, and that goes, whoops, that goes in there, and then of course all these are going to go into each other like that. And then there's just a couple other things. We got to put this into our position, and then we want to remove our DPI scale, and we want to click that for our return value. And if that's the whole, this is probably the most complicated script of them all. So we compile and save, and we didn't get any errors on that. And now all we have to do is do scripting for our drag widget here. So we come into here, and then what we're going to do is this kind of creates the backdrop for everything. So for this, we'll go into designer view, and we're just going to get a canvas panel for this. And oh no, I take that back. We're going to get a size box and drag that down on here. And if we click on the size box, we're going to override, but we're going to keep it at 0. And we do want this as a variable, so we will go as variable, and we're going to call this actually widget size. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a border, and actually I've been using borders a lot more than I used to. And so for our border, we're just going to click on it, and we're going to set the color to black. We just drag this down here and set the alpha to 0.5 and go OK. And again, this is misleading because we don't have it set on desired on screen, and look how small that is. And then, believe it or not, we just have a couple more things to do here. This is our last main thing that we got to do. And so we're going to click here, delete this, click there, delete that, and we're going to drag off of here, off our event construct, and we're going to cast to our health bar here, like that. And then we're going to get our widget reference here that we already created, and just plug that in like that. And these might be new nodes to you. This is all kind of interesting to me. Is we can drag off of here and get desired size. And then off of here, we're going to drag and break the vector 2D right there like that. And this is truly the home stretch. So all we have to do now is we're just going to get our widget size here and set its height and width. So off of here we go set height override, and that's actually going to be our Y value goes in here. And then we're going to drag off and get our width, get the width. Oh, not get set width, sorry about that. Set width override here like that. And then this is going to go into here. I wish it wasn't getting so tangled up in here, but okay. And then all we have to do is just wire this up like this. And that takes care of, whoops. That takes care of that as far as I know. And the very last step is we just need to add all this to our viewport, and we are done, and hopefully it will all work. So let's compile and save. So because we're in the blueprint, we're in the third person template, we're just going to go into the third person here. And all we have to do is off of event begin play, we're going to create our HUD widget. So we just go create widget here. And we're going to set it to our HUD. And then of course we need to add it to the viewport. So add the viewport. And of course we're going to need to be able to see our mouse cursor, so we just need to get our player controller. And then off of here, drag up here and go set show mouse cursor. And plug that into there like that. And click that box. And as far as I know, that's everything. So it's a lot of steps, and let's see if it works. So we'll hit play, and there's our health bar, and we simply click and drag it. I notice it's working, but I'm not getting the opacity. So let me hit escape here. And which one was that? No, it's one of these. I think is it the health bar? Might be on the drag widget itself. No, I believe it's on the drag widget here. This is the border. Oh, you know what I did is I didn't do the brush color, so that was my mistake. So let's come back here, and that was my mistake. So this needs to be 0.5 here. And go okay. Let's compile and save that. So that was my mistake. I adjusted the color and content color and opacity, and I should have adjusted the brush, and that was on the drag widget. So let's go ahead and hit play. And now we drag. There we go. Yeah, that looks a lot nicer. And that's it. So I realized this was pretty much step by step by step by step, but I do feel like this is such a nice functionality to know how to do. And so you can imagine where you're just using a progress bar for this, but this could be a full-fledged menu that would be dragging around instead of just a progress bar. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.